Coming up in today's show, the self-taught amateur who turned this into this. But first, meet Malcolm Taylor, lifelong TR4 fanatic, who after nearly 20 years with his car, finally fulfilled his dream of creating the perfect classic rallying TR.
I bought this car in 1989 from a neighbour. My neighbour had it for a couple of years, was very happy with it, but was also keen on other classic cars. So many classics, so little time. I bought it from him and I ran it between 1989 and 2007 for probably a cost of about £1,000, which was really quite cheap. I used to use it for taking the kids out, having fun, going over to Alton Park, and I used to use it to commute to work as well, where it's sort of known as the rain machine really, because what happened was whenever I drove with the soft top down, it rained. The car had been very well restored when I bought it. It was restored by a guy in Stoke-on-Trent called David Kelson, and he'd done an excellent job on it, and it was running very well. Probably if there was one fault with it at that time, it was the paintwork, which was a little bit cracked. And the guy had painted it himself and he'd done it very well with very thick paint, but it was so thick in fact it was beginning to crack and come off. But it then had done quite a few thousand miles. Mechanically it was fine. Internally the trim was okay, but beginning to get a little bit tired. And really all I had to do with it over the years I ran it was a new clutch, new brakes, a few little odds and sods, but not very much at all. So it was really a well rebuilt car. Eventually it was, yes, a little bit ratty, it was tired, it was running okay, but it needed some work doing to it. And I was in the mind to have it repainted anyway and then a retrim inside. And I'd always wanted the bumpers taken off to make it more like the rally look. So that's when I looked for a restorer, and that's when I chose TR Enterprises. I went over to TR Enterprises and had a chat with Steve Hall and his team over there. I went with the mindset of having the car repainted and retrimmed and the bumpers taken off and maybe a little bit of extra work done. But the trouble is I went into the TR Enterprises workshop where they've got all the beautiful rally cars in there and all the lovely cars they were restoring at the time. Steve showed me the menu, so I decided to go from the table d'hote to the a la carte. And I just looked at the menu and I just couldn't resist it. I just went a little bit further than I first thought. I had the car repainted, I had it retrimmed. I ended up buying Ridgard rally seats, which are absolutely superb. They're so comfortable. They position you very well when you're driving the car as well. We decided to have the engine rebuilt. The engine was rebuilt as a fast road engine, so it's got an alloy head, gas flowed. It's got competition inlet-outlet valves and a valve gear as well. It's got a Phoenix straight-through exhaust system. A little bit loud, but I don't mind that. It's got 123 electronic ignition on it as well, which is extremely good. Magna Core leads, and also the engine breathing has been improved by taking off the mechanical fuel pump. And then they put a very wide breathing pump from there that goes into an oil catch tank. And then to help with the cooling as well, we decided to go for a sealed radiator unit. So really quite a bit. With the outside of the car, the only panels I had to have replaced were the front wings, which were a little bit dodgy. And I had the doors reskinned, and that's a much better method than trying to have them repaired. Originally the car was running on wire wheels, which were fitted with 195 section TR6 size tyres. The handling wasn't that good, it wasn't predictable, parking was very heavy, and in the rain when it let go, it let go. So we decided to go for mini light wheels, and these are original mini lights on here. And there are Avon CR6ZZ tyres on here, which are road legal race tyres. Absolutely superb on the tarmac. Not that great off the tarmac, but they're absolutely superb on the tarmac. Runs really well. With the rest of the exterior, well, we had a work style lamp bar put on the front with the spot lamps. On the back, I've had a couple of bonnet catches or boot catches put on there. I used to go over to TR Enterprises on a monthly basis and check progress and talk to Steve. Obviously I had a look at the menu again and decided on something else, you had another dish to have on there. Basically we developed the car between us during that time. So monthly visits while it was being done. The first part is always a little bit tedious because the car's being broken down. It's being stripped back, then the bodywork's being rubbed down, the engine goes off to be rebuilt, etc., etc. So the first part is really quite destructive in looking at the car. But when it starts going back together, there's nothing like it. You just look at the stuff going on there and you just think, whoa, that really does look good, and maybe I'll just have this done as well, and maybe we could just do this with the engine, and so on and so forth. And we really, like I say, it was a process between us of developing the car. Good fun. Well, probably about 8.5 months I've been over to see it almost complete, and you're really chomping at the bit. You want to get the car back. 9 months I had the phone call, well, it's ready. Then the next thing I get is an email with some photos of the car finished, and I just can't wait to get the thing back. They decided to deliver it back to me. So I was looking out through the kitchen window, when's it going to come, when's it going to come? And then you hear this noise coming up the road, and then this parks on the driveway, and I was so happy. I was absolutely over the moon. First thing I did was stand and look at it for a while, but I quickly got in the car and took it out for a ride. We went out for some trips in it quite regularly. Probably did about 400 miles in it, and then we took it back to TR Enterprises to have the head torqued down. I was advised to run it in, so I did. I was very sensible with the car. Ran it in quite carefully, and we did some trips in the car and drove around a bit. Used it, every week, once or twice a week. Gradually using the engine a bit more, and eventually, in fact, I did take it back to TR Enterprises. They told me then I'd been a bit too gentle with the car, so to go away and give it a few more beans, which I did. I then took it back after another couple of 100 miles, and they took it back and thoroughly checked the car over. They then took the car to a rolling road, to a dyno, and they set the car up on the dyno, which was done, I think, very well. I mean, it transformed the car. Well, they rang me and said, Mal, it's done. I'm glad you weren't there because we have to take it to full revs and keep it running like that for a while. They said it's set up really quite easily. One of the things with the 1, 2, 3 ignition is that there are actually different settings that you can go to advance the curve. Anyway, it was set up on the dyno. When they'd finished with it, it ended up giving out 158 brake horsepower at the flywheel, which is, I'm more than happy with that. That's fantastic. But one of the big things is it changes the torque performance of the car. The torque curve is really quite flat. So when you come onto the torque curve, it's there and it delivers all the way through the rev range. You don't have to rev it very hard. It's very easy to overtake in. I can't recommend people enough to go and get their car checked on a dyno when they've had it done. It just set all the torque properly, the revs were perfect. The car is so calm and balanced now that I can drive it happily in traffic. I can give it some beans and then slow it down, and it never falters. It's a superb thing to drive. great fun. I have to say the work they did with the suspension and the setup of the car has been superb. The car I wanted to be set up to be suitable for navigational rallies or regularity rallies. So all the suspension and everything is set up so it's suitable for that. Plus I have a full set of rally instruments that can be plugged into the car when I need them as well. So myself and my wife, my co-driver, we go out and we do these navigational tours which are set up by the Historic Rally Car Register. And they have various versions of routes they give you. Sometimes they give you something that's called a tulip map or tulip book. And sometimes they just give you a series of grid references and then you have to sort out your own route. And they're great fun. They're around about 100 miles in length. You get some challenging roads to go down, to say the least. Some of them are single track. I think I've probably met a lorry coming the other way on a single track on every event we've been on. So I end up reversing because the lorry's bigger than me. But they're great fun and they do keep you quite sharp on the road. It's a car that you can drive in traffic quite happily. It can be quite docile. It'll just purr along. Sometimes it'll make a little bit more noise than a purr. And then when you want to really have some fun with the car and put your foot down, then it really does respond very, very well. The pickup is excellent, but one of the great features of the car for me is the torque, because you can drive in third gear quite happily and the car will pick up and go. And also it's got an overdrive logic box on there, which means that just with a flick of a switch you can go in and out of overdrive very, very easily. So when you're driving through the country roads, which we have a lot of around here, you can be going along and instead of having to change down, you can just flick the overdrive switch and come out, go around the corner and then go back in. It's very, very comfortable to drive. This one is eminently usable now. I must say the reliability factor and the fact that you can drive it in traffic, you can use it as a day-to-day car. I do use this car all year round. The only time it doesn't go out is if there's salt on the road. But I use it for shopping. We go on holiday in the car. We have a little boot bag that you can put on top of the boot, which gives you that little bit of extra luggage space. But you can drive it anywhere, and you know you can rely on it. There are a few people with classics who don't like them modified or don't like things like the bumpers taken off, things like that. But generally, the majority of people who see it absolutely love it. And I had somebody follow me to a car park once in a supermarket. He turned round at a roundabout and followed me to say, I absolutely love that car. Where did you have that done, etc., etc. So it gets a lot of positive response. A lot of people take photos of it. It's been in Retro Car magazine. It's the cover car for How to Improve Your TR2 to TR4, and today it's on film. I would recommend a TR4, slightly biased, but I think with the TR4 it's something that you can maintain yourself and keep the car on the road, as many owners do. Unfortunately, I'm not blessed with the talent to rebuild a car like this, but if you do have it done professionally, then research the restorer that you're going to use, have your objectives very clear in your mind, and then always remember you'll need a few £1,000s more than you originally thought you did.
Wise words, and what a result! Malcolm's wonderful TR4 is just perfect for classic rallying. Now, remember that pile of rust and scrap metal in a sort of yellow colour that we had a flash of earlier? Well, meet the restored car in all its glory, a wonderful 1958 TR3A. And here's owner and restorer Dave Godwin, enjoying the fruits of his labours on a sunny Sunday afternoon. Well, part of the afternoon was sunny. It is England after all. Dave's now enjoying this painstakingly restored TR3A after spending a few years restoring it, doing almost everything himself.
Triumph TR3A, 1958. It's done in Silverstone grey with a mulberry trim. I seen it advertised on the TR Register website for spares or repair really, so I thought to myself I'll go down and have a look at it. It didn't look anything like this whatsoever. It was just a whole lot of rust everywhere. It was yellow, the original colour was white. The car itself, the A posts and B posts were disintegrated. I opened the door, the bulkhead fell into the passenger side. It was a complete mess. The engine was just sitting in there. The front panel had gone, the back panel had gone. There wasn't really anything left of it other than the inner body tub. Brought it home on, hired a trailer from a local company on the Wirral, went down to Stoke Ferry in Norfolk, collected the car. Took me about 2.5 hours to get it all onto the trailer and everything strapped down because everything was loose. Brought it back up to the Wirral, took the car off the trailer, put it on the drive, and the mother-in-law came over and said, "How much did he pay you to take that off his hands?"
Well, money did change hands, but Dave reckons he did okay on the deal, as he then owned one of probably only about 9,000 surviving examples still left in the world, all the others having succumbed to the deadly rust and what 50-odd years of use had done to them. Okay, so his wasn't exactly in showroom condition, or even running for that matter, but after restoring a later TR in the past, he had a pretty good idea of what he was in for.
Well, first of all, I needed to get the shell back onto the chassis, mainly to line the bulkhead up and to get the doors to fit properly, so as I could get the inner sills welded in, the new inner sills. So once the engine was out and everything was stripped off it, the whole car there, it was all replaced, repairing the A posts, the B posts and the inner sill side at a time. That was the main job. Once that was all done, I could take the body tub off the car. Once the body tub's off the car, then I could concentrate on the chassis, getting the chassis stripped down. Well, when I'd got the actual body tub off the chassis there, the outriggers, they'd cut the outriggers off the chassis there that actually holds the body tub onto the car. I had to replace the outriggers on it. Once the outriggers were replaced, I could get it all lined up and everything there, mainly for the bulkhead to fit in properly so as the doors fit and everything else. The chassis, it didn't need any repairs other than one small plate on the back, and that was it. Sent the chassis off to get shot blasted, came back all primed up, sprayed it in 2-pack gloss black, and started replacing all the bushes and everything on the front suspension, doing a corner at a time. Then I concentrated on the engine. I started on the bottom half of the engine, rebuilt all the bottom half of the engine. Cylinder head, had the cylinder head skimmed, had it all set for unleaded fuel. The engine in the car is out of a little grey Massey Ferguson tractor. Years ago, Standard Triumph were part of the Massey Ferguson group, and the engine is actually based on the tractor itself. Once all that was in, put the gearbox back in. Prop shaft, it only needed cleaning and painting, same as the back axle. I've renewed all the back brakes, the brake pipes, fuel lines, just to get the chassis up and running onto 4 wheels basically, ready for the body tub to be sat on and lined up to concentrate on the bodywork, which was the biggest job, of course. Well, once I got the engine back into the chassis, the engine was all bolted in. So I put the actual body tub back onto the chassis, mainly to do the bodywork. Primed and done all the repairs on the body tub itself, and then put the wings back on, all in primer. They're all stone chipped in underneath and everything, all painted underneath, the same as the top coat. Got the top coat on, flatten that off to bring it up to a gloss like that. The trim you can mainly get already pre-done. The seats and everything were all, you buy in a kit. but you've still got to put all the horsehair in on the packing and everything on the back of the seats and the base of the seats. The base of the seats is like a spring section all done there. The hardest job is to pull the leather over it there, and there's special staples that you've got to use to crimp it all down on the bottom. But once all that was done, and retrimming the dashboard, the material on the dashboard, some of this was difficult to actually get into shape and everything and glue onto there. I mean, some of these are the hardest bits, these radiuses here, trying to get it to stick there. But once all that was all on, time consuming, taking up to 3 days just to do the top trim pieces. The carpet set was already pre-done. You can just buy that online. Had some mats made up especially for it, they're over mats. They're all leather bound around the edge of the carpets. Fits perfectly.
Makes you tired just listening to everything he's done, let alone actually doing it. The TR3, and this the facelifted TR3 known as the TR3A, had a real claim to fame in the annals of car making. It was the first production car to have disc brakes fitted as standard, beating the Jaguar XK150 to it by 4 months. In all, over 70,000 TR3 and 3A models were produced between 1955 and 1961. The vast majority were exported, mainly to North America. Since finishing this painstaking rebuild, Dave's been pretty busy showing the car. And here are the results so far. Pretty impressive. But how did he get the car looking so good?
I think you just pick it up as you go along, to be honest with you. Watching TV programmes, and a friend of mine, he owns a body shop down in Birkenhead. I used to go down there helping him out now and again, flatting cars off and that. So basically, I think mostly you pick it up as you go along. It's just time consuming, and the preparation is the main part of the actual project. If your preparation isn't right, it's never going to look right at the end. And I'm not a professional, I'm just an amateur at this. I didn't feel like giving up, no, it's just a case of keeping on at it, because if you don't keep on at it, my attitude is you lose interest in it. So if you lose interest in it, that's what prolongs the process. So it roughly took 3 years to complete. As you can see now, it's magnificent, shall we say.
That's a pretty good description, Dave. Magnificent it is, and doubtless a real crowd pleaser at all those car shows almost every weekend in the summer. So after all the blood, sweat and tears, the countless hours spent in the workshop, what was it like when you finally took it out?
Oh, it was fabulous when it was finished. I took it out, first run there. I didn't have the roof on. Went out in the night, a day like this today there, and it was great. It drives fantastic. I was expecting to be loads of clunks and rattles and stuff like that with a 1958 car. Bearing in mind it's coming up to 55 years old, I thought it was going to be horrendous. But it's nice and quiet, no rattles, no clunks or anything. Drives absolutely fantastic. The wife always says to me that we always look like a goldfish, two goldfish sitting in this when we go out, because everybody's looking at you when you stop at a set of traffic lights. But it's nice, yeah, and people come along and say it looks really well, and it's nice to have people come up and say that to you, especially when you've only done it yourself.
Dave Godwin's wonderful TR3A is probably one of the nicest around. Thanks for sharing, Dave.